Navigating today's
Just
real
lost
estate
all my
market
show
can be
prep.
tricky. Want to buy or sell a house, finance or insure a house, or stuck with a house and don't know what to do? Florida Talk Real Estate has been your local one-stop real estate shop since 2012. Get the advice you need from your local real estate pros. Here are your hosts, Jim DePola and Johnny C. live on Real Radio.
Yeah, that's right. Real Radio 92.1, 101.7. Thank you very much for being with us on this Saturday. Of course, no matter where you might be with your iHeartRadio app, thank you for choosing to be with us as well. 2 hours of infotainment. That's what you get every Saturday, 9 until 11. It's Florida Talk Real Estate. You can find us on Facebook as well, Florida Talk Real Estate. Thanks for those that are joining us right out the gates. And on YouTube, Florida Talk Real Estate LLC. You'll find us live on YouTube as well. Let's get that toll-free number, 877-927-6969. If you have questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate, pick up your phone and dial. Be a part of the show. We love talking to the folks, and Jimothy will line you up. We'll get you going on the air at 877-927-6969. I'm your boy, Johnny C., your air traffic control. Let's go ahead and get a starting lineup on this Saturday morning. Of course, Jimothy's producing things for us, and I got Scott Spainhour, one of our top producing members on Jim DePola's top producing Keller Williams team. Scott has been with us a couple weeks in a row now, and that makes me happy. I like saying good morning to Scott Spainhour. How are you, my friend?
I am great, Johnny C. Normally I'm out doing open houses on Saturday, and part of our marketing plan, those happen on the second Saturday after being on the market, but we can't have anything on the market for 8 days. It seems like it's selling faster than that. So no open house for me today.
Well, nice. That is our benefit. And thank you for making time to join us here on the air. Of course, we keep going around the corner here. We got my guy, Jimmy D. It's Jim DePola with Keller Williams Reserve Palm Beach. He does run a top producing Keller Williams team. Jimmy D, how you be?
Hey, Johnny. Hey, Scott. How are you doing today?
Good, man. Good, real good.
Good. I was actually just thinking, I was just thinking about open houses and how we haven't had one in so long, just because everything is just going just so fast. It's just crazy town, what's happening. But it's a good way to start off the show because today I spent about 4 hours yesterday, guys, going over 6 years of statistics, of real estate statistics from Indian River County down to Dade County. And I have a lot of big aha moments, and we're going to talk about what's happening in the market. And what have I been saying over the last several shows about what's happening to the market?
That we're seeing
just short version.
Yeah, we're seeing a little shift. We're just seeing signs, a little pumping of the brakes.
Right, and you don't see that in the Post or the Sentinel. You hadn't seen that anywhere in the Herald. You're not seeing that, right?
Well, no, they'll talk about it well after the changes happened.
Yeah, so the Sentinel just came out with an article, which we're going to discuss later, but I can't discuss anything right now, guys, because all my show prep just got erased right before we went on air. All the show prep went poof.
Erased?
We have a technical difficulty, so I got to rebuild it. Okay, so
would you hit delete?
I'm going to leave you and Johnny. I'm going to leave Johnny and Scott to talk for about 5 minutes, and I'm sorry. So Scott and Johnny, I want you to talk about some of the deals you closed recently that are your shout outs, Scott, because we haven't talked to shout outs in a while, and maybe a little aha moments for that. And please let me rebuild the show prep right now as we're speaking, because I have nothing to talk about until I open up these stats. Okay?
Sure, man. No
Sorry,
problem.
audience. Sorry about that. So,
yeah, no worries.
Yeah, what do you got for little shout outs here, Scott? I know you've been very busy, and go ahead, Jim.
Let me just start off with one shout out myself, okay? Because this is one Scott isn't going to be able.
You really need to be rebuilding right now. You really do.
I know, but let me just get it out. Matt and Freya, congratulations! They just closed on their new construction home in the Fort Pierce area. Now, this is the funny part. It took them about 9 months to build that house. Okay. When they put it under contract, that house was a very low 3 something. And that house is probably 15% equity or more. While they were waiting for it to be built, they have like 15% equity more than they did now.
Wow.
Can you imagine? So while they were waiting for the house to be built, their house was appreciating in value before it was even finished. How about that kind of a crazy market? So congratulations, Matt and Freya, for getting brand new construction home, and we wish you many, many years of happiness there.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm done with that. Okay.
Congratulations. What do you got for shout outs there, Scott?
I wanted to give a shout out to Noelke, first time home buyer that we just recently closed. He bought a townhome in Green Acres, and talk about a super strong, challenging seller's market. Without going into specific numbers, check this out. So, making it up. Let's say the seller had the townhouse on the market for $300,000. It had just gone on the market. We were literally had to have been one of the first or second people to walk in the door. The lockbox wasn't even on yet. The agent had to run out and open the door for us because it literally had just gone on the market, and I'd already called to get a showing. So anyway, we get there. He likes it. We knew it was going to be a competitive thing. So we went in, and again, these aren't exact numbers, but let's say it was listed at 300. We went in at 310 from the jump, turned it in that day, and got our offer accepted. Seller accepted it, and this seller was an investor that was renting the property. He didn't actually live there. And so anyway, we was excited. Now we're in contract at 310, and the townhome was built in 2016. So it wasn't. It was a fairly newer construction.
Yeah.
The AC wasn't old, the roof wasn't old. None of those concerns. Everything was up to code and the current building standards. So the inspection report came back very clean. We did not even ask for any repairs or concessions during the inspection. So everybody's happy. We're moving along during his contract. Then we get the appraisal. The appraisal comes in at 290. So we're in contract at 310. Appraisal comes in at 290. We're $20,000. Actually, let me change these numbers up a little bit because this is super important. All right, we're in contract at 310. The appraisal, I'm making it up. So let's say it came in at 305. So he was listed at 300. We're in contract at 310, and the appraisal comes in 5,000 low. So as the buyer, representing the buyer, our first position when we have a low appraisal is, we want to buy, as the buyer, we want to buy the house for what it's worth, what it appraised for.
Sure.
So we asked the seller to lower the price from 310 to 305, and we're thinking I'm sure he's going to say yes, right? Because he had it listed for 300, and he's got $5,000 above his list price, and even though it's $5,000 less than what we were in contract for, it's still above his list price, right?
Right.
Seller should be happy. Comes back, the seller says, nope, you guys said you wanted to buy the house for 310. I don't care if I had it listed for 300. I want the 310. So of course, a little taken back by that, and this was a first-time home buyer who didn't have a ton of extra cash left over. After paying his closing costs, down payments, and prepaids, and we didn't want to, zero out his bank account. So again,
and that's what it takes to go above appraised value, because you can only get a loan up to appraised value, right?
Correct. So he's using a mortgage. So if it's only appraising for 305, that extra 5,000 is $5,000 in liquid cash that has to come out of that buyer's pocket.
That's right.
So anyway, we're taking back the seller's getting $5,000 above what he listed it for. But it's $5,000 less than contract, and he's not willing to work with us. We go back, we try and negotiate, split the difference with us. Can we kick in it this way? Can we do something that way? Anyway, long story short, seller held his ground. He wanted that 310, and ultimately, the position our buyer was in, we ended up going ahead and paying that extra $5,000 because there's a lot of buyers out there that are paying well over $5,000 above appraised value right now.
Sure.
Plus, like I said, it was newer construction, super clean inspection report. It was in the area that he wanted to be in, and just the challenge of getting an FHA buyer into contract to start with. And we had already seen many, many properties and submitted offers on 3 others that we got beat out by cash and conventional because we were FHA. And so we ended up paying that extra $5,000. But just talk about a crazy market. He had it listed for 300, went into contract at 310, appraised at 305, and the guy wouldn't take it.
Yeah,
but,
amazing.
That's the lay of the land.
877-927-6969. That's toll free to join us. I got a question. So when you say the challenges for an FHA buyer, is that the side of the listing agent and the perception of an FHA buyer? or is it more the FHA buyer is really taking advantage of the 3.5% down and they don't have a ton more cash to get involved in the game? Which of the two is kind of the predominant scenario?
Well, it could be a combination of both. I mean, you got to talk about the seller's perspective. A buyer's perspective, why are they using FHA? A lot of times it is because of the lower down payment options, but you can also get lower down payment conventional options. So somebody may be using FHA for one reason or another. There's many. It could be a debt to income situation. It could be a credit score situation. Mike Rao was here. He could go into details more about that. But bottom line is if they qualify for FHA, they can close on it.
Well, and both of those scenarios, by the way, debt to income or credit score, have no bearing on whether or not they're going to close on that deal ultimately, right?
Correct.
So, because they're approved or they're not.
Correct. Now, the challenge is, or going back to the seller's perspective, if a seller has multiple offers sitting in front of him and there's a cash offer that has no financing contingency, or let's say there's a conventional loan offer that is 20% down conventional, and they're comparing those two, that cash offer, that 20% down conventional offer, to an FHA offer, a lot of sellers are going to look at it and say, well, the cash, I don't have to worry about the financing contingency at all.
Sure.
And the 20% down conventional guy, if I have a low appraisal, then potentially that 20% down conventional guy could drop down to 10% down conventional, which frees up cash for that buyer. Right. Now that conventional loan buyer in the seller's mind is going to have extra cash to pay above appraised value if that could be negotiated for the seller. So there's a lot of different...
In their mind, they're definitely thinking they're not using all their cash to get to 20%, right? They're just not thinking that.
Right. So, I mean, that could be what the seller's thinking. Now, there are a lot of myths out there as well for sellers where they just think that an FHA appraisal is so much more difficult than a conventional loan appraisal. And as we talked about a couple of weeks ago when we had AJ Holman on the show, who's a state licensed appraiser.
Yeah, with Touchstone Real Estate Services.
Yeah. And they, the appraisals to them are basically the same. The safety concerns that you may have as far as an exposed electrical wiring, if that's an issue for FHA, it's also going to be an issue for conventional. But a lot of sellers don't think that way. They think an FHA appraisal is going to be so much more stringent than a conventional loan, and it's not.
No, yeah, go ahead, Scott. Finish up. I just have a question for you after you make your comment.
No. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So, Bienvenido. I know I'm butchering your name. I'm sorry about that. She just on Facebook, one of our fans on Facebook. Thanks for watching the show. She was asking when you give them in this example, the house was on the market for 300. You gave them 310. The house appraised at 305, and then the seller said, "Forget it. I don't want to do it anymore," even though it was 5,000 above the list price. She was asking if that's even legal because she said my son went through the same thing, and people with more money will never lose a bidding. And she just said sad. And the short answer is it is legal. Once you go into contract and you give them a price that you're going to pay, if the house doesn't appraise, you do have a way to back out of. If you have a good agent and you write the contract correctly, you have a way to back out of the contract as the buyer and get your deposit back. But the seller doesn't have to sell you the house at a lower price than what was contracted on the contract. The seller could just say, I don't care if the house didn't appraise. I still want my $310,000. So it is legal, and it is sad right now.
Well, it depends on what's written into the contract, right? If it's written into the contract that you got to sell no matter what, well, then guess what? It's written in the contract they're selling no matter what. But in that scenario, Jim noted, I think the most important part you said, Jim, is make sure you're working with a good agent that ensures you're out if the appraisal doesn't work and ensures you're getting all your money back if the appraisal doesn't work. If you don't have that written into the contract, you're probably not working with a great agent.
Yeah, you're not working with a great agent. So
FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
As Scott was, sorry about that, Johnny, I stepped on you. As Scott was talking to you when I was trying to rebuild the show prep, I'm back. I had a big smile on my face because the institutional knowledge that Scott has now over the years of doing this and doing so many transactions, it's just great to know that he knows all the stuff he knows now. Because that's what most people don't understand. They hire the agent, but they have no idea what their track record is usually, right? And then they don't know what they don't know. So if they don't know if their agent's qualified to do all the stuff, because what happens if stuff like this pops up? We just had an agent that house appraised way low, almost $200,000 low. And when we started going through the negotiations, the listing agent right away came to us and said, "Can you handle this for me? Can you just take over and just like make sure all this works out?"
Wow.
And
that's unheard of. Usually the listing agents are acting as the alpha dogs.
Well, but the thing is that was good is at least she knew what she didn't know, and she was asking for our help, and we're here to work with each other to make it work out. And we did work it out, right? We did work that deal out, which was awesome.
And she realized, oh, wow, you're pretty experienced. You got a lot of knowledge. You're not shisty, right? You're willing to work with her in this scenario for both sides.
Yeah.
Because ultimately you're trying to get your buyer into the home.
My buyer wanted that house. So we were going to work out no matter what we had to do, within reason, we were going to do that to make it work. And we did, but not if what happens if with her experience down here, and then she had another realtor, like the buyer's agent, that was inexperienced, and it's the blind lead, and the blind, forget about it. That whole thing would have turned into a mess.
Yeah.
So it really, really makes a.
And the reality is too, it's just every single real estate transaction is going. I mean, just you can write it down. I mean, there could be a fluke someday or another, but in the hundreds of real estate transactions I've been a part of, every single one of them has some kind of hurdle. Some of them have several kinds of hurdles throughout the transaction. And the more and more you do that, before that hurdle ever happens, we're trying to prepare for it, where you're instead of just being reactive to it. And then even when you have to be reactive because it pops up, you know exactly what to do because you've done it 10 other times.
We just did that, Scott, you and me. We just did that just this week. Okay, so Scott was the buyer's agent. I was the listing agent on one of my properties. This is a shout out to Marshall and Debbie. Okay, and what ended up happening was there was an electrical panel issue, which is not necessarily uncommon. And we went around and we negotiated about the electrical panel at first. And at first, we felt like during the inspection period, we worked that out. All parties agreed, but we didn't talk anything about the electrical panel that came up in the inspection. But I had a feeling behind the scenes, and Scott doesn't even know this. I told Nancy, I don't think that this is going to go through. I think Scott's going to come back to us later and tell us that we got to fix that electrical panel in some way. I don't know what we had to do, not necessarily replace it, but there were 3 aluminum wires in the panel, and there was one circuit breaker that supposedly was a higher. It was a 50 amp circuit breaker on a gauge wire that couldn't handle 50 amps according to the inspector.
Yeah, it was an oversized breaker.
Yeah. So what happened was we weren't sure how to handle that. Now we were talking to Ross Camaronets from Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach, the only Brightway office. If you're not calling Juno Beach, you're calling the wrong office. Okay.
You know it,
right? You know it. So with Juno Beach, with Ross, what happened was we started talking about this right away. Even as soon as we got the inspection report, Ross thought he had everything under control. Looked like we weren't going to have to mess with the panel. But then when I read the 4-point report and the wind mitigation report, it showed some of the issues that we were concerned about in there. And I'm like, I'm not sure this is going to go through. So thank God I went to the seller when the inspection period was ended. And I said, look, the inspection period ended. We don't think we have to fix that electrical panel. The buyers are okay not fixing it as long as they can get insurance for the house. Mm-hmm. So please, Mr. Seller, I'm going to ask you to remember there's an asterisk on the inspection report, because if I come back right before closing and they say we can't get an insurance policy, that electric panel is going to have to be dealt with, right? And then everybody agreed. And then the next thing I know, like 2 days later, Scott's talking to Ross, very detailed, which is exactly what he needed to be doing. And then it's like, hey, I think we got to refix the panel. Now, the good news is we didn't have to mess necessarily with the wires. It was just the circuit breaker amperage. So I called back the seller. Seller was okay with it. He's working on it with a licensed insured electrician right now. In fact, Scott, he has some questions I'm going to talk to you after the show about. But anyway, he's getting an electrician to go out there and take care of it. Okay.
Sounds like an easy fix, actually, if I'm following along. You know, the panels, each one of those breakers come out individually, and if it was just oversized, they just got to put the right size one in, put the wires in, screw it in, pop that thing in. Real simple, easy fix.
Yeah,
if you're not scared of electricity, you probably do it on your own.
Oh, no.
Okay, you got to be a licensed electrician to play in that panel.
Yeah. So
true. You know what? That's advised.
With our team, you always use a licensed insured professional, because they have to be able to back the work. The person selling the house has to be able to back up the work to the buyer, saying it was done properly. Because if you do it hey, I can, I watched a couple of YouTube videos on how to replace an amperage, circuit breaker, and I watched HGTV. So I'm going to go in there and do it myself. You might do it 100% perfectly right, but what happens if you don't? Yeah. And then you sell it to the buyer, and then there's a panel fire, and the house catches on fire.
Oh, totally. No, I would absolutely hire somebody.
They're going to be doing your butt, right?
Here's the other thing. If Jim did have, and the homeowner fixed it on his own, and it was 100% correct, guess what? As the buyer's agent, guess what I'm still going to be asking for? An invoice from a licensed and insured electrician. So Jim already knows that the buyer is going to ask for that, or at least he knows I'm going to ask for it. If it was another buyer agent, maybe not, but they should be asking for it. So he's doing it right.
Yeah, no, ultimately I was just trying to highlight how simple of a fix this was. This wasn't, it shouldn't have been an issue. This is a real easy thing. I had to replace one in my house. I had Mike Rowe's brother come out and do it. And he's like, I could have just done this over the phone for you. He's like, you could do this. And I'm watching him. I'm like, yeah, I totally could. That's simple. But I don't mess with electricity. Yeah. And definitely in this scenario, use professionals like FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, your one-stop real estate shop. You hear how this process is being worked out a little bit here from both sides of a transaction. It's important from a buyer's perspective to make sure you have an agent like Scott in this scenario who cares about his interest in this transaction, no matter what. Every step of the way. You need that when you're out there trying to buy a home. Go to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. And as a listing agent, people are like, oh, I'll sell the house myself. I can just list it. I just put a price on. I don't need a good listing agent. Oh, no, you do. Marketing matters. And if you want to look into marketing, our YouTube page has a ton of videos and information on there. The marketing plan that this team that Jim developed and has perfected over the years is remarkable. Homes sold faster and for more money than any other group comparatively. I think our range is about 75%, Jim, if our numbers are right.
75% are homes. Now, this is before the whole crazy market.
Well, let me just finish though. In every market, it evolves through every market, and Jim and the team learn through no market's the same, no transaction's the same. What have I said for 10 years? It's like a snowflake. Mm-hmm. Everyone is different. But when you have people that are good at what they do, not scared to learn, not scared to dive in, know what they don't know, and try to learn along the way, the programs and the systems evolve through every market. And it's been happening through this very unique, dynamic market. Go to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Get the power of a team of pros. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
Just want to do a couple of, thank you, Johnny. I want to do a couple of just not market update, but more about like what's happening with the economy and things that are kind of related to real estate, but not directly. So a couple of things. The student loan relief program has been extended, so people are able to continue to not make their payments for student loan while we're going through this COVID craze. If you're deciding that you're not making your payment and you're using the COVID program, you're crazy because there's a better program out there, guys. Okay. It's the best kept secret out there. It's a student loan modification program backed by the federal government. Instead of just kicking the can down the road and not making your payments right now with your interest accruing and your principal growing every day.
Key.
I'm sorry.
That's the key. You may not be paying anything right now, but your interest is growing.
And you're obligated to pay when you're not paying. Why not just come to us? We've helped thousands of people through the law office of Paola Krasker get student loan modifications. It's based on your ability to pay. So if you have no ability to pay right now, if you're using the COVID plan, you're paying zero, but you owe all the money. Okay.
And your interest is accruing.
everything, right? And your principal and interest is accruing. You might not be damaged on your credit for not making the payments, but you still owe that money.
That's right.
Under the loan modification program we're talking about, it's based on your ability to pay. So right now during COVID, let's say you're paying zero, and let's say you don't make your payment for a whole year because of the COVID situation, okay? And that's because you have no ability to pay because your income is too low. That year of not making payments counts towards the payments that you need to make on your student loan. Now that's like, what? What are you talking about? What we're trying to say is, under the federal student loan ability to pay program, they give you a certain timeline of how many years you're going to pay off that student loan.
In that program.
Yes. And I forget, I know this is bad, but I don't know if it's a 15 and 20 year program or if it's a 10 and 15 year.
I thought it was 20 and 10. I thought it was 10 for public servants, teachers.
And then 20 for everybody else.
And I think 20 for everybody else, if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay, I always forget about the 10 and the 20, okay? But let's say Johnny's right. So it's 10 years for public service employees, healthcare workers, government workers, things like that, right? The other people, just regular people like you and me, it'll be 20-year payment program. But let's say for 5 years, you don't have the ability to pay anything, and it's proven every year by turning in reports to the federal government. The government goes, hey, Johnny, you don't have to make your payment this year. Hey, next year. Hey, Johnny, you don't have to make your payment this year. Next year. Hey, Johnny, you don't have to make your payment next year. That counts. Those 3 years count towards that 10-year or 15-year program that you're in.
Oh, sure.
So,
and let's
just
words, keep extending. Let's say I make a little bit more money the next year and I can afford to pay $100. Then that year of paying $100 counts. The next year is $100. When your 20 years is up, whatever you ended up paying, you might not have paid that whole balance off, but you paid through the terms, the rest gets wiped away.
So there's a forgiveness factor.
Yes.
So you're crazy if you're using the COVID thing and go, wow, I'm so happy and relieved. Yeah, you're what you're doing really is you're kicking the can down the road. Don't kick the can down the road. Be proactive. Take the bull by the horns and call up and get your rights. This program is available. The federal government, when they passed this program, and I think it was in 2009, guys, this is not a new program.
No.
They put in the law that they passed for the student loan modification that the federal government is not allowed to advertise this program to the public. The public has to find out on their own.
Yeah.
That's why we've been such a big bully pulpit for this program. So we're here for you. So if you know of anybody, you, your kids, your grandkids,
your neighbors,
your buddy,
yep,
girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever, significant other, or all three of them, okay? If they're in trouble with student loan, you got to say, hey, you should go call those radio guys, because how long does it take to find out if you're going to be able to get the program?
About 10 minutes, 10 questions.
Yep, 10 minutes, 10 questions, you find out what's going on.
Yeah.
And there's a guarantee that comes with that, right?
There is, yeah. They'll give it to you to the penny of what you'll pay, and as long as you can document what you're claiming, right? So they're going to ask you questions, you'll give answers, and as long as you can prove those answers are accurate, they'll give you, as Scott said, to the penny what your payment will be, guaranteed.
So it's good news that the student loan program is being kicked down the road, I guess, right? It's better than being forced to pay now, but then there's the other flip side. So there's some bad news too. The Supreme Court just ruled, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that the COVID forbearance for making your rental payments, it's over, guys. It's
October
done.
3rd, right? It ends.
Yep, it's over. That so what that means is the Supreme Court in a split decision ruled that the only way that that program can continue is if it's passed by Congress and it turns into a law. Right now, it's a CDC policy. So that's never going to be passed into law, I doubt. So
no way.
So the eviction thing is over. Eviction protection is over. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I really don't know. I know that the federal government now is trying to figure out ways. There's 45, I read yesterday, there's 45 billion with a B dollars set aside to help landlords and the tenants work out a deal to pay back those late payments.
Yeah, and it's all been dispersed to the states, and it's all sitting. in the
It's
States.
just sitting there. It's
Sitting
hardly
there.
been used, just a tiny fraction. So there's $45 billion of help for landlords and tenants just sitting there.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, the state governments don't want to spend that money for those purposes. And and now that we have COVID coming back at this highest level ever, I can't believe that we're higher than we were in June of last year, which was supposedly the peak. So we're higher for deaths. We're higher for infections per day. It's just not good. And now we're kicking everybody out of their houses. And I don't know the real figure of the amount of people that could be evicted from landlords, but I hear it's somewhere between 3.5 and 6.4 million households.
Wow.
Yeah, households, not people.
Jim, there was a little more information that came out from the Treasury on Wednesday concerning that rental assistance program, and there is a lot of uproar going on about the fact that there was $45 billion set aside for this, and only around $5 billion has been put out to the public and actually received for the purpose it was intended for. And they're trying to speed up the process to allow tenants to self-assess their income and risk of becoming homeless. So there are pushing states to ease the process and the restrictions that I guess is kind of what they're blaming the slow dissemination of the money on. So the Treasury is getting involved, and I don't know if it's because the rubber's getting ready to meet the road come October 3rd. And I actually had a previous client of ours that I spoke with earlier this week, who is, you had sold a house for him 2 or 3 years ago, Jim. I helped him get a rental about 1.5 years ago, and he owned a small business which was greatly affected by COVID. He's backed up on rent, and he received a 45-day notice just a couple of weeks ago from the landlord to vacate. Well, that 45-day notice ends at the end of September, and October 3rd is when the moratorium ends, and our previous clients asking me, what are my options? And I said, well, are you in an annual lease, or and it turns out he's in a month-to-month lease too. And unfortunately, he don't have a lot of options. So me and him are scrambling now to figure out another rental situation that we can get him into, because ultimately he found out that the landlord wants him out, whether he catches up the back rent or not.
That's gonna happen a lot with people. I just want to take a break because we're at 9:30, but I just want to say, excuse me, I want to say one thing before we go. For the landlords specifically, there's a lot of landlords, mom and pop landlords out there right now that are hurting very, very bad, because I just read an article in the New York Times where somebody now is homeless. A landlord is homeless because his renters won't pay the rent on the properties.
I don't know how they're doing it. I really
don't. He couldn't
don't
afford his mortgage payment, and he's losing his house, and he's becoming homeless, but he's a landlord. So this is like crazy town. It's bizarre world right now.
It is. It really is.
And I feel bad for both sides, because neither side, the people that aren't paying, that really can't pay, that's not their fault. Right? If you're working as a restaurant worker and you got kicked out of your job and that's your skill, and restaurants weren't available for a year, that's not your fault. Okay. And it's not the landlord's fault that you're not paying. Right? It's not the landlord's fault that they need to collect the rent in order to survive.
Yeah, that's their pay. That's the landlord's paycheck.
So if you are a landlord, this might be, and we're going to talk about this later, about the stats, the 6-year stats I put together for us today. If you're a landlord and you're thinking, I'm done, stick a fork in it, you got to give us a call. We'll sell your units for top dollar and make a profit that way. Make your profit that way. Hoard your money. And then when you get in a better situation, when you feel the cycle's better, then come back in and pick a property that you can make profit on again. That's what I would recommend. Right? Yeah,
for real.
Take the equity now. Go get another rental property when things change a little bit. Take out the equity now, because when I go through these stats today, you are going to be amazed at how much appreciation we've seen in the 6 counties down here from 2016 until today. I'm going to leave off on this on the break, okay? What percentage do you think from 2016 until today, because all the counties are pretty close to each other, what percentage appreciation do you think you had from, Johnny, when did you buy your house? I forget. It wasn't 2016.
14.
Okay. So how much appreciation do you think that the average home in the South Florida area had for appreciation from 2016 until today?
Average, huh? We're not going to go median. We're going average.
Yeah. Well, I took the medians and then I averaged it out.
Okay. All right. A little blend of the both. Yeah. So something to ponder for 4 minutes. We'll come back. We'll get the answer. See how close you are. Start firing your answers off in Facebook. If you're joining us on Facebook right now, get documented so we know you're not lying. When you're like, I was right, put it down. Let everybody see what your guess is. Florida Talk Real Estate is on Facebook live every Saturday, 9 to 11. We go on YouTube as well, Florida Talk Real Estate LLC. Thank you for being with us. And if you're on 92.1, 101.7, or wherever you might be on your iHeartRadio app, even in Colombia this morning, I saw on Facebook, Jim. Thank you for being with us. We got a 4-minute break. We come back. You're welcome to be a part of the show. Jimothy will line you up during the break at 877-927-6969. Jimothy would love to say good morning. We'll get you on the air with your questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate. Even if you just want to call and say, hi, Scott, you can do that. You can do it. Got plenty of time still for you on a Saturday. Great to have you with us. Florida Talk Real Estate right here on Real Radio.
We're everywhere you need to be. Find your favorite show at realradio921.com.
Hi, this is Dan Patrick, and here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network, presented by Mercedes-Benz.
The Marlins continued to work with pitcher Pablo Lopez after he missed Thursday's scheduled rehab start. While it doesn't appear Lopez suffered a setback, the Marlins are slowing down his progression. With the season opener just around the corner, Hurricanes quarterback Jareet King looks ready to hit the field, throwing 5 touchdowns in the final scrimmage before Miami plays Alabama. I'm Adam Crowley.
The compact GLA proves it's not the size of the SUV in the fight. It's actually the size of the fight in that SUV. You can learn a whole lot more about the nimble and ready-for-anything Mercedes-Benz vehicle. And you can learn that at MBUSA.com.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rao will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rao, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
This is Real Radio 92.1 and 101.7. Real talk for the Palm Beaches and the Treasure Coast. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Yeah, that's it. Toll free. Jimothy will line you up. If you dial it, we got about an hour and a half remaining for you on this Saturday. 2 hours of infotainment. That's what we promise you every Saturday. And it is a toll-free number. So Jim DePola is actually picking up the bill. Great to have you with us. If you're on Facebook, YouTube, thank you for finding your way. You see some beautiful faces I'll introduce here in just a second. If you're on 92.1, 101.7, or on your iHeartRadio app, you have to use your imagination. I'll just tell you, we're all very Adonis-like. I'm your boy, Johnny C., your air traffic control. Scott Spainhour is with us, one of our top agents on Jimmy D's top-producing Keller Williams team. Great to have you with us on a Saturday, Scott. How are you, my friend?
I am good, Johnny C. Happy South Florida to you.
I love it. Thanks for squeezing it in. And, of course, let me say good morning to Jimmy D, my guy Jim DePola with Keller Williams Reserve Palm Beach. He does run a top-producing Keller Williams team. Jimmy D, how you be?
Hey, Johnny, how's it going today?
Good, real good. Thanks for asking.
Good. So we were asking a question before the show, before the last segment, of how much appreciation do you think we've received in South Florida since county? I have a stats county by county since 2016, and the only reason why I went to 2016, I would have went to 2012 when we started the show, but the MLS will only let me go back to 2016. So I went back, 6 years. Okay. So how much appreciation do you think that we received, that the average home or the median home in South Florida has received over the last 6 years? Like if you add up appreciation each year and added it all together, how much do you think it would be total?
I'm going to go high at 70%.
70%. What do you think, Johnny?
Yeah, I was going to say like 60.
Okay, so now let's talk about what would be normal. Do you guys know what normal would be? Like over that 6 years.
Like 3 to 4% a year.
Yeah, so 18 to 24%.
Right. So I wanted to talk to you about that. I think I'm going to change my opinion of the 3 to 4% now. When we first started the show, it was very consistent that nationally we were getting 2 to 3% appreciation, but Florida was always getting 3 to 4% appreciation, a little higher than the rest of the country, right? But now that I went through all the stats this week, I really feel like Florida is closer to 5 to 6% appreciation over the last 6 years. Okay, so appreciation grown more robust over time was what I'm saying for everybody. Okay,
yeah.
So let's just say it was let's just say that it was 5.5%, right? 5.5% appreciation would be normal. Okay, so if you did 5.5% times 6, 33%. I just want to double check that I don't have this wrong in case you have math people listening to us right now. 5.5 times 6, 33%. Okay, so over the 6 years, if we had a normal appreciating market at 5.5%, we would have 33% appreciation. So Scott's thinking that we have 70% appreciation, and Johnny's thinking that we have 60% appreciation, correct?
Yeah, feels good.
Okay, so ready?
And I'm kind of basing it on my house, so I'm just kind of going with my own personal experience, and I am cheating a little bit because I refied 2 years ago, so I actually got a real appraisal, and I know what my neighbor's house went for like 8 months ago. So yeah, I'm just basing it on my own personal little neck of the woods here in Royal Palm. I feel good with that guess.
Well, there's out of the 6 counties, and when I say 6, let me read them out. It's Indian River going from north to south, not necessarily in order of favorite or anything, but it was Indian River, then St. Lucie, then Martin County, then Palm Beach County, then Broward County, and Dade County. right? Because we're crazy. We drive all those places to help our customers because we're nuts, right? I love all of Florida. I wish I could do St. Augustine and stuff like that too. I'd be there, and the Keys. Scott would be in the Keys so quick if we could do stuff in the Keys. If it didn't take us 6 hours to drive down there.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we just got to get a little pneumatic tube to like connect the whole state.
Exactly. Yeah. Like we got to figure that out.
Yeah.
Now, there's only one county that stayed within the norm. There's only one county out of the 6 that stayed within the norm. Okay, so which county of those 6 do you think you'd close to that norm?
Martin.
Indian River.
Yes, Martin County. Scott's right. Now, the reason why Martin County is, just to give you an idea, in Martin County, the average home sold per month is about 150.
Yeah, so it's volume is the reason more than anything, huh?
So 5 million, like if Martin County, one mansion sells on the water and it sells for $10 million and there's only 150 homes being sold in the whole county that month, that's going to skew the numbers like crazy, right? So they only sell about 150 homes. So the variances in there are very wild, okay? But like to give you an example, Broward County, they average about 1,200 a month. Palm Beach County, 1,500 a month, like 10 times the amount of Martin County. Okay, right. So Martin County is like a little kind of weird compared to everybody else. But listen to the appreciation numbers, okay? Broward County from 2016 is 86% above where they started in 2016. Martin County, Indian River County. Oh, I'm sorry. That was Indian River County, 86%. 86% for Indian River County. Broward County is 76.2%. Martin County, 48%, which isn't that far off of the 33, but it's still significantly higher than 33%, right?
Sure is.
So we have 76, 86, 48. Now, Miami-Dade County, 90% appreciation since 2016. This is for single family homes. Palm Beach County, 75.4% appreciation over the 6 years, right? 33 would be normal, okay? And last but not least, St. Lucie County, 84% appreciation, when 33% would be very, very good, right? That would be very, very good. So are we in a bubble? We have 40%. Some of these 90% minus 33 is 57% higher than it should be, right? From Dade County, right? If it's really 90% appreciation over the 6 years and 33 is normal, right? So that comes out to what? 57% or 53%? I'm sorry. 33, 57%.
Yep.
No, 47. I'm sorry. Wait, I'm thinking 47, 33. Yeah, 57%. Right? Is that right, guys?
Feels right.
Calculator.
Yeah.
90 minus 33. So 57%. So 57% higher than what's historically normal. Higher than historically normal. Okay. Now, we're not in the same kind of market that we were during the bust. Okay. During the bust, we had a lot of people getting mortgages they couldn't afford. Scott, you work with a ton of buyers. Have you seen any buyer get a mortgage lately that couldn't afford it?
No. I mean, now when you go to qualify for a mortgage, you got to turn in every document that you can think of, your W-2s, bank statements, pay stubs. They're going to verify your debt to income ratio to make sure that when that monthly house bill comes in, that you can pay for it.
And don't forget the DNA test.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Pretty sure you got to spit into a vial.
Yep. So the thing is, we're seeing extreme appreciation now here because I'm a stats guy. I love going over stats. I had so much fun last night. So check this out. Just from January till today, how much appreciation was there for the average single family home in South Florida? Check this out. Broward County, compared to January, we're 17.8% above where we were in January for the median single family home sale right now. Jeez. We started out at 420. We're at 495. Okay. Now, Indian River County, 14.7% appreciation over the last 7 months because we're only talking through July because the July report just came out. So in 7 months, they saw 14.3% appreciation. They went from 293 to 335. Martin County has 5.5% appreciation. Right? So they're the kind of wild ones. They were at 450 and now it's 475. Okay. Now, Miami-Dade County, 9.5% appreciation. They were at 470 in January and now 515. Okay. Palm Beach County, 18.4% appreciation.
Wow.
In January, 422. End of July, 500.
Wow.
Okay. And then St. Lucie County, 16.6% appreciation. Started out at 270 in January. Today, 315.
You think if we did this again in March, and we will, we do this, a couple times a year for sure. If we do this again in March, personally, Jim, do we see the same trend based on what you've been seeing in the trenches for the last 2 or 3 months?
Well, here's the other thing I want to bring up to you, Johnny, and it ties right into that question. And we did not talk about this off air. This is all organic here. We're just talking, right? One of the things I noticed that July, last month in June, we reported that the single-family home median average price for a single-family home in Palm Beach County for the first time ever hit 500.
Yeah.
Right? Well, this month,
it stayed 500.
It stayed 500. And Broward County went slightly down to 495. So that brings me to the Sun Sentinel article that came out yesterday, right? So let me read the headline for the Sun Sentinel. Overpriced homes are declining. Maybe a slowdown is finally coming. I wonder who they should have talked to where they could have got a scoop 2 months ago. Talking to us, and we would have told you that was coming for sure, right?
Yeah. Well, we've been talking about it. You've been mentioning it. It's like 3 months now. The signs are coming. Scott's noticing them. The team's noticing. Everybody's noticing, from softer appraisals. Little slight uptick in inventory helps a little bit, but the buyer fatigue.
No uptick in inventory.
I thought we had a small uptick in inventory.
No, we didn't, unfortunately. No, but what you're right. You're heading in the right direction, though. That was the one little tiny mini fact that that you're off. You're right. Appraisals are getting softer.
Yeah, a little bit.
People are putting their houses on the market not as high as prices they were 4 months ago. The smart ones, at least. Okay.
Buyer fatigue is setting in a little bit.
Big time.
The mortgage applications are down right now, big time. Right, mortgage applications are down, even though interest rates are, I didn't even look at this week's interest rates. This will be interesting. I'm doing it live on air.
Well, while you do that, I think another thing you mentioned was, there was a while there where we were getting, you were seeing blind cash offers that were waiving all kinds of contingencies, right? And those aren't as prevalent as they were. Those have slowed down considerably. I think those are all indicators, right? That we're pumping the brakes a little bit.
Well, when we say slow down, it really depends unit by unit by unit. Okay.
And neighborhood to neighborhood.
And price point plays a factor in that too.
So luxury is a completely different animal than most of the stuff we're talking about. I just read an article.
Where do you got to cross? What threshold do you have to cross to be considered luxury?
Well, in Palm Beach County, it's 500 or above, but I'm talking $1 million properties or more. Okay. So the multi-million market, completely different animal. I just saw again an article. I can't remember where I read it. It was local, where somebody in South Florida bought a home for $19 million and just sold it like 3 months later for $26 million.
Jeez.
Okay, that's like the third one we've talked about on the show recently, right? Like within 3 months, they made $6 million for buying this property, right? Well, not made, but you know what I mean. It sold for $6 million more. And we're still seeing that with the multi-million-dollar market. But I'm sure that if I started poking in there, there's going to be a lot of people that aren't selling their properties, right? So some of them, the ones that are news that we read about, is people think that must be happening all the time everywhere. But the multi-million-dollar market has never been hotter than it is now. So the Sentinel was asking, we're seeing that people are putting their houses at less of a high price. They're not overpricing their houses as much as they were. Now, if you do overprice your house, 3 months ago, it almost didn't matter. But now it kind of matters. I was looking in a neighborhood recently where there's 1 million homes that sell in 21 days or less or 30 days or less. But there's 4 or 5 homes in that neighborhood that are at 100 days or more, while everybody else is selling 30 days or less. Why do you think that is?
Yeah.
It's price. It's price, and the buyer's not seeing the value of trying to make the offer, right? So we're, this is like really interesting stuff. When I saw that we're 50%, 60% higher appreciation than what is customary, and I even went higher to 5.5, guys. If I stayed at that 3 to 4%, right? 4% times 5.5 is like what? 21, 22%, not 33%.
Right.
And we're talking 90, 75, 84, 78% appreciation, 50% appreciation higher than what is a normal market. So there's actually some professors that specialize in real estate at Florida International University. I'm going to try to get them on the show. They're actually right. They're keeping tabs on the market pretty good, but they're recommending to buyers right now to rent. They're like, we think you're better off renting than buying because the prices are so inflated that I would wait for the prices to come down. I'm not sure I recommend that. Because the rentals are just as bad right now.
Oh man, are they ever? The rental market's steep as it's ever been. And
so the fact is, let me just finish. The fact is, imagine if you decided in 2016 that you felt that the market was too frothy, because that was a very strong year, 2016. Okay. So if the market was too frothy for you in 2016, you said, I'm going to wait for the prices to drop. You would have been waiting 6 years right now, and you wouldn't have seen the prices drop. You would have seen the prices go up 90%, 80%, 78%. And these people go, oh, no, the houses are overpriced, so I'm going to wait. What are you waiting for?
Well, interest rates to go up, I guess.
Even if you have a correction over time, because we are going to go through a correction at some point. And when that happens, we're going to lose some of that value, but it's inflated value. It's almost like when we had the peak in 2006. When we had that peak, we didn't hit that peak again until 11 years later. 11 years it took us to get back to that 2006 peak, okay? Because it was totally overinflated. I'm not saying that this is necessarily crazy overinflated, but there's definitely room to go down. And the affordability factor is a big deal. So that's the other big deal.
But think about it logically. Even if we had a 10 to 15% correction over the next 12 to 18 months, and you said we had 84% appreciation in Palm Beach County in 6 years, if we had a 15% correction, we're still 60% ahead of where we were in 6 years ago.
Bitcoin people would love those figures. That's what Bitcoin lives on, right? They live on that fluctuation. So if you got 80% appreciation on your Bitcoin, but a couple weeks later it goes down 15%, you know what they're like? Oh, well,
buy more.
Just another day.
Buy more.
I'll wait for it to go back up, right? So the thing is, the thing is, well, I'll tell you what, it's 10 o'clock or very close to it. So I want to continue this more, but I'd like to go after the break on it. And then what I want to talk about is what's going to happen in the future. So,
and I got a question that I think needs answering, Jim.
Well, actually, we have, I think, 2 minutes. I'm a little early. You want to go ahead and ask it now, or do you want to wait?
I'm going to wait because I don't think it's a quick answer. But I want anybody that's wondering the same to be sticking around or possibly even joining us at 877-927-6969, because I talk to a lot of people every day, and a lot of potential sellers. They all say the same thing. Well, I know I can sell at the peak here. I know I can maximize my net profits in selling my home. My home has never been valued more than it is right now. Based on you just highlighted how much equity has been put into these homes for people that have been in for even just a couple of years. But if you've been sitting on your home for 10 years, my goodness, is your equity position remarkable. I'm in my home 7 years. Jim, here's a quick question. What's the average amount of time somebody stays in a home? Is it 7 years? 7 or 10 years?
It used to be 5 to 7 years. Then it changed to 7 to 11. But I think we're probably at 6 to 8 years, something like that.
So I keep hearing from everybody, I don't know what I'm going to do. What would I do? What would I do? Well, what you do is you sort through it. You sort through it with people that are great at what they do. I'm about to go through this myself. And people are like, you're crazy. Why would you do this right now? Because Jim just told you my house has gone up considerably. My mom's condo is worth way more than it has been. It's the time to sell right now. And what I want to ask when we come back, who should seriously be considering selling? Because every situation is like a snowflake. I think the blanket answer is everybody, but there's specific price points, specific timelines, people that have been in their home so long. I want you, from the expert position that you're in as a listing agent, Jim, who should really be considering selling right now? Like, in your head, the timeline you've been in your house, the price point, your equity positioning, there's a sweet spot. The real answer I always give everybody is the best time is when you're ready. But from a numbers perspective, about getting a return on your investment in your home, right? If you treat your home as an investment, who should be seriously considering selling right now? We'll get Scott's opinion. If you want to join the conversation, please do. And we got a ton more to break down on a Saturday. You can always reach the team at floridatalkrealestate.com. Remember it, write it down, save it on your computer, floridatalkrealestate.com. Share it with your friends. It's the one-stop real estate shop. Team of pros. They're experts in their field. And you get them all at floridatalkrealestate.com. 4 minutes from now, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. We're back with a ton more, another whole hour for you. 2 hours of infotainment every Saturday. Florida Talk Real Estate right here on Real Radio.
We're everywhere you need to be.
I've been everywhere, man.
Tell your smart device to play Real Radio 92.1 on iHeartRadio.
This report is streamed live on our iHeartRadio app. Download it now.
Hey there, I'm CBS 12 storm track meteorologist Zach Tovey. Happy Saturday to everybody. Our cloud cover today, courtesy of Hurricane Ida out in the Gulf of Mexico. Now, while we aren't expected to see any showers and storms, any ones that do pop up are not related to Ida. They're related to the East Coast sea breeze. Otherwise, mostly cloudy skies, highs around 90.
This report is sponsored by Gordon and Partners.
At Gordon and Partners, we commit our resources to fighting for riders and their families. If you've been in a motorcycle accident, call 333-3333 for a free consultation. Gordon and Partners, fortheinjured.com.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rao will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rao, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, Not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
This is WZZR FM, West Palm Beach, Real Radio 92.1, powered by the law offices of Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Been in an accident? Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Man, I want to give a little personal shout outs. Ken and Brett and James and Eric. Man, during the break, I get texts from all of you guys saying, listening on a Saturday. Good to hear you on the radio. Miss you. Thank you very much for tuning in. Florida Talk Real Estate every Saturday, 9 to 11. And thank you for the kind words, the missing me on the radio. It's great to have you with us. And thanks for always supporting Real Radio. We give you 2 hours of infotainment every Saturday here, 9 to 11, Florida Talk Real Estate for many years. And it's a toll-free number, just like it usually is the Real Radio way. You're welcome to join us. You got questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate, something we're talking about. If it's something we're not talking about, but you definitely know the team can help you with an answer, pick up your phone. Don't be shy. Jimothy will line you up. 877-927-6969. Now, if you're not comfortable coming on the radio, I understand. I'm not very comfortable myself. But you can go to floridatalkrealestate.com. One-stop real estate shop. It's a team of pros. You can find them all. floridatalkrealestate.com, or you can call 888-973-7828. The hotline, if you're looking on Facebook or YouTube, it's right over my shoulder there. That shoulder right there. And it's in a little square over there too. To my it's over here. Yeah. Which way is it? It's that way, Scott. Yeah. There it is. 888-973-7828. Scott's above me for sure. I know that. At least he is on my screen. There's Scott Spainhour with Keller Williams Reserve Palm Beach. You know, that's where Jimmy D runs a top producing Keller Williams team. And it's top producing because, well, Scott Spainhour is a big part of it. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Johnny. See, you talking about the callers being grateful to be able to hear you on Saturday made me think, remember when the coronavirus and all that started and we had the Johnny C backyard live videos. What was that called?
The BYOB.
The BYOB at Johnny C's backyard. I threatened to come over there and jump in your pool a couple of times, but still need to make that happen at some point.
Empty threats they were.
There were a lot of drunk people. Johnny got a lot of people drunk on that show, including Johnny.
And my mom. My wife, yeah. Oh, that's the melodious tones of Jimmy D, Jim DePola. He runs that top producing Keller Williams team I tell you about all the time. Jimmy D, hello.
Hey, yeah. So Johnny got a lot of people drunk. You should have got a sponsor for a liquor deal like Tito.
Oh, totally.
Because you definitely deserve that with everybody drinking.
It probably would have came along. Jim, it would have came along. I think the sponsorship would have came along if we didn't get so drunk, because that's ultimately like when I almost blew up the backyard when we had the firework mishap. Yeah. That's when the bosses were like, "You're good. You don't have to do that anymore."
And what they don't get is it probably had better, you probably had a stronger audience because of that. Instead of them going, I think that's, it would have been, It would have been real news. Imagine if you blew yourself up on the Facebook Live.
It was this close. I have the marks on my window. It was this close. If you watch that video again, it's probably on Real Radio's Facebook somewhere. You can hear my wife go, "Haley, run!" Haley's my daughter, and as the firework mishap, you hear Haley, run. That's parenting 101 right there. That's how it's done.
Well, it's nice to know that your eyebrows grew back.
So I was, if you watch the BYOB, I always wore the red, white, and blue shades.
That's right.
The American flag, USA. When I hosted that comedy MC event last weekend, I wore them on stage. Well, there was a bunch of Real Radio fans in the house. It was great to see so many folks. And I had like 4 or 5 people go, "Oh, that reminds me of the BYOB, your glasses." And it just made me feel good. Like, well, thanks for tuning in, even though it wasn't always amazing. We had fun.
I know you want to ask your question, Johnny. I want to answer it, but I also, well, let's answer your question first, and that'll tie into this other thing I want to talk about, which was the year of 2019. I learned something that was surprising to me when I was going through these stats, and we're going to talk about 2019 because I think 2019 is going to be a mirror of what we will expect when we go through the correction. So we're going to talk about that. But your question was, Johnny, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, so before we went to break, I was leaning on Jimmy D, who's a top listing agent. He knows the market. Scott is in the trenches every day as well. So between the two, there's a ton of knowledge of this market because they've been in it every day. And again, markets are always changing and evolving, so it's constant knowledge and learning. But particularly as we've been talking about all the equity in the homes in the counties that you serve, from Indian River down to Miami-Dade, the numbers are eye-popping. And a lot of people are, they realize the equity they have, but they don't know if they should be selling. Their concern is, I don't know what I'm going to do. But there's got to be a segment, a cross-section of people that absolutely, I think the answer is everybody should be considering it. But who's the real cross-section of folks, the demographic, who absolutely should be considering selling their homes right now because of the threat of how things may evolve in the next couple of years, and their positioning just could disappear?
Well, if Mike Rao from the mortgage firm were here today, he's in Costa Rica having a great time in Costa Rica on vacation. So, and he's there for jiu-jitsu. So I hope you're kicking people's butt or whatever you're doing.
Choke them out.
Have fun. Yeah. Pura vida. Have fun. But if Mike were here, Mike always says the one thing, because Mike is always a very conservative guy.
Yes.
So he's like, when the best time to move is? It doesn't care about the market. It's when you need to move.
Yeah, right? I say the same. When you're ready, that's the best time.
But I almost, depending on the circumstance, like what you're bringing up, I don't always necessarily agree with that, because like so my answer is, if you're thinking of moving in the next 3 years, you got to seriously think. If you're thinking about selling your home and moving somewhere else in the next 3 years, you really got to seriously think about what are your options today. As long as you don't have kids in high school or school that you need to have them stay in until they graduate, and that's why you want to wait the 3 years, that might be a little different, okay, depending on where you want to move to. But if you're somebody that has a kid in high school and I'm making it up, you're in Wellington and you like the A-rated schools out there, but you're planning on moving to Wellington from the house that you're living in now, I would do it now, right? But if you're waiting for your kid to graduate, and you're going to sell your Wellington home and then you're going to move to South Carolina, or you're going to move to St. Augustine or Cape Coral, then maybe you wait, okay, on that. But the people that there's a groups of people that I think that are best off buying right now and selling right now. For the buyers, the ones that are very interest rate sensitive, and those are the people usually that have the lowest money down payments, the least amount, like they don't have extra money. They're doing FHA financing because they really don't have more than the 3.5% down that FHA requires, and maybe their credit scores aren't as good as others. Those people probably need to take advantage of the current interest rates, because in my opinion, for the buyers, okay? And the reason why I'm saying that is that as tough as it is in this market, and you're going to get bruised up and beat up, and you're probably going to have a fat, bloody lip by the time you're done, and maybe a black eye or two, but you're going to be holding that belt at the end. It's right. Like, I did it.
Champ.
You might have to go through that. But with these interest rates, you really can't pass up these interest rates, because if you're waiting for the prices to go down, there's only one thing that's going to make that happen, and that's the interest rates are going to go up. And I'd rather pay a little bit higher. See, this is where I disagree with the professors, so I'd like to have them on the show from FIU, because my opinion is I think I'd rather buy the house if I'm planning on staying there for a while. You know, right. If you're buying a house, you've got to be planning on staying there 5 to 7 years at least, most probably. And I think I'd rather lock in the sub 3% interest rate and pay the higher price right now than wait for the price to come down and paying 4.5 to 5.5% plus PMI, right? And go through that to get the lower rate, because you're going to be paying that high interest rate over the whole term of the loan. And if you lock in the low interest rate today, even though you might be paying a higher price, and let's say that your house is going to correct, meaning go down in price, and it will, okay, it'll also start going up again once we get through the correction. And you'll still be at the low subprime 3% interest rate. And yes, you lost some equity on your home, but now you're building the equity back up, but your interest rate hasn't changed. Or you could wait for the correction to happen and get your house for a little bit less money, but you're going to pay that higher rate, and you're going to pay that higher rate forever. But you got the house at a little lower price. Most of the time, I think you're better off with scenario 1 than scenario 2. Now, the sellers, it all depends on what's the most important thing. If they want to cash out a certain number, the only way they're going to get that certain number probably is right now, okay? And we're already seeing it. People are saying because that we hit, and it's only 1 month. So in June, Palm Beach County was at $500,000 single-family home median price. July, we were at $500,000 single-family home median price. That's the first time, I think, in 6 months or longer. I didn't have time to check this last night, but I'm pretty sure it's been 6 months or longer since we haven't seen the prices either go flat or down a little bit. Okay. So some people are thinking that we're totally in a cool off period and we're already starting to go through the correction now. I don't think so. I think what's happening right now is there's 2 theories of what's going on right now. Some economists, national economists that specialize in real estate, say that we're going through a correction now, right? We're starting to go through the correction right now. There's another theory that I think is kind of interesting. I don't know who's right, but the other theory is we are not going through a correction. What we did is we had a crazy market last year because of COVID, and it broke all the rules. So the typical seasonal changes of real estate market didn't happen because everybody went nuts. But this summer, starting after this kids got back into school, it's traditionally a slower time. Year after year, this period is a little slower in the real estate market. So some people are saying, hey, we're not going through a correction at all. We're just getting back to a little bit of a normal market where people are taking a break because they're putting their kids in school and getting back to the routine and blah, blah, blah. So those are the 2 things that people are thinking about. Now, what is going to change this market? I think I have a pretty clear idea. Now, this is assuming we don't have any world catastrophe, that the damn COVID doesn't get a 3rd variant that breaks through the vaccine, God forbid, you know, something like that are out of control. You just don't know what's going to happen. But if it's just regular real estate stuff, 2019 is a really, really good look as to what could happen in the correction. Okay, so let me show you this. Broward County, 2019, year over year, from January 2018 to January 2019, they only had 2.9% appreciation that year. Think about that. I'm telling you that the average is 5.5 right now.
Right.
But that year, they only had 2.9%. Indian River County, 1.3% appreciation year over year in 2019. Martin County, 2019, 10%. And the 10%, that was a little outlier, to be honest with you. That was Martin County, not Miami-Dade. Did I say Miami-Dade?
No, you said Martin. You said Martin.
10%, but Martin County, because there's so few homes, you really can't rely on Martin County, even though I love that county.
For sure.
Miami-Dade County, 2019, 6.1%. That out of the 6 years, 6.1 was the lowest of the 6 years. Okay. Palm Beach County, 4.6% appreciation for 2019 for the whole year.
And when you say 2019, are you meaning January 1st of 2018 to January of 2019? So you're talking about 2018.
Year over year. So compared to in January 2019, there was 4.6% appreciation compared to January 2018. Thank you.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Okay, so year over year. I'm sorry. Thank you. And then St. Lucie County, 5.4%, which actually St. Lucie County, that wasn't the lowest price appreciation of the 6 years for them. Actually, the lowest price appreciation was 2020, believe it or not. They only had 4.2% appreciation. But the reason why that happened, Port St. Lucie was the honey hole during 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020, because it was so cheap compared to Palm Beach County. Everybody was moving to Port St. Lucie that couldn't afford a single family home down here.
Urban sprawl, yeah.
Tons of people were doing that. So St. Lucie had a little blip there. So what? So then I said, well, what the heck happened in 2019, guys, that would make those appreciation prices and sales? Sales were slower in 2019.
Yeah, because interest rates were low in 2018. Nope. They weren't as low as they are now, but they were low in 2018.
Well, everything's low. We're almost like a new. I've been saying we might be
a new normal.
I've been saying that for years now, right? Anything under 7%, when I started this show, anything under 7% was low interest rate, because people didn't remember that for 40 years, 7 to 9% was normal. That was a normal interest rate, 7% to 9%. Okay. But we haven't had that in so long that I almost feel like we're in a new normal, that anything under 5% is good. Right.
And we were there in 2018.
Well, here's what happened. Because I know you're remembering this, Johnny. What happened was at the end of 2018, right at the end of 2018, all of a sudden our interest rates went up super fast, like 2 points. They went up almost 2 points in 6 weeks. It was like the fastest increase of mortgage rates ever recorded in the history of the country. Now, it happened one more time again later in 2020. Okay. But in 2018, we actually hit the 5% interest rate. And that doesn't include your PMI and everything. So people that were buying houses like with FHA or less than 20% down, if the interest rates, like for example, let's see, November 15th, 2018, we are at 4.94% for the prime interest rate. But then you got to pay PMI if you're doing, you got to pay PMI if you don't put 20% down on your loan.
Yeah, so you're like 5.8.
A lot of people were paying 5.5, 5.8. Some people, if they didn't have great credit, were paying in the 6s, okay, to get their houses in 2018.
Still
now,
amazing.
What happened is, so that was at the end of 2018. It took us by the time we ended 2019, we were still at 3.75%, which right now, if we were at 3.75%, the market would be completely different than it is today, because we're at 2.87.
Yeah.
3.75 is almost a point higher. Okay. What does that mean? People paying 2.8% prime interest rate have 10% more purchase power than the people doing 3.75.
10%. That's a big number. Every percentage point is about 10% buying power.
Yeah. So we're talking, technically it's 11%. So that's why I said 10, because we're at 375 minus 288. So it's almost there, right? So 10%, right? 10% of your purchase power. So if your mortgage broker is saying, hey, you're good for 400, and then the interest rates go up a point, you're only good for 360, right? So that's going to be the thing. Now that year, 2019, we had the highest interest rates of the 6 years. We had the lowest sales in 6 years. We had the lowest appreciation in 6 years. But we still had positive appreciation. It wasn't like we went through a crash. So 6% appreciation is not bad.
That's
right?
great. Yeah.
Indian River only had 1.3%, so they were flat that year, but at least it wasn't negative.
Right.
So that's what it's very clear to me. And you know what? The other thing I found surprising, you know how we've been talking about inventory. There's no inventory. There's no inventory. We're down to
Was it 1.5 in Palm Beach County?
1.5 in Palm Beach County.
Yeah.
1.5 months of inventory in Palm Beach County. That means if nobody else buys a home, nobody else puts their home on the market now, whatever's left on the MLS, it'll only take us 45 days to clear out all the properties that are on the MLS.
And here's the other thing. Usually, recently, townhomes and condos have been in a little bit better situation on inventory, but now they are also in Palm Beach County at 1.5 months.
Yes, and the reason why I haven't talked about the condo market, because it gets a little complicated because of the single family and condo market's a little different. They have bifurcated a little bit.
They've what?
The way bifurcated.
Yeah, you're gonna have to explain that to me too.
The condo market isn't a mirror. The condo market is not a mirror of the single family market anymore.
Bifurcated.
There's some places where the condo market is way stronger than other places, like Miami, sucking wind. Condo market sucking wind down there.
No,
we'll probably do a whole thing just on condos. Okay, so today we're focusing on single family. So it's very clear to me what's going to happen, guys. You don't have to be some swami to figure out what's going on. Okay, we're going to have chronically low inventory still, but once those interest rates start going up, brand new ball game. And there's going to be you'd have to be very sophisticated and very on top of your game to realize when the shift is coming, unless you're already planning for that shift. So there's a lot of people out there that's like, I'm not going to buy right now. It's just too crazy. It's just too crazy. Well, unless you're checking the interest rates every day to see what's going on, you might miss the market. And by the time you wake up, you're not going to be able to take advantage of everything. So there was a couple that I talked to last week. We put their house on the market. They wanted to buy a new home in Central Florida. When we put their house on the market, we put it at a very high price for the neighborhood. We didn't hardly get any showings, but we got an above list price offer that was very strong. But they were having a very difficult time finding a home in Central Florida. For some personal reasons, they decided just to shut everything down and forget the whole thing. And they said they're going to wait a year or two. And I said, well, maybe that's better off because of the stress and the health issues that they're having, that maybe that they're better off waiting. But what I explained to them is chances are you're not going to get what we just got offered on a written offer. You're not going to get that. You're probably going to get about $30,000 less. If you come back to me in 2 years, you'll probably get $30,000 less on a good day, right? Now, some people, that's okay. If they have a ton of equity and the $30,000 doesn't mean that much to them, that it means more. I know that you just made a face, Johnny, but what I mean, it's not that $30,000 isn't important to them, but the ease of the move,
right,
and all that I'd rather have
the trade-off is benefit more. Yeah,
exactly. I'd rather have less stress and make a little less money, right? Now, I know $30,000 sounds like a lot, but at their price point,
Yeah, so I say it's relative to price point too. If they got $30,000 in equity, if they've gotten $500,000 in equity in the past 6 years, $30,000 is a drop in the bucket.
Right, but if you're at a $250,000 house and you're selling it for $30,000 equity, right, or you lose $30,000 actually on your $250,000 house, that's not a good thing usually, right? That's
right. Yeah. Point being, price point's relevant to that.
Yeah. So what I really think is that this is what I think. And Gary Keller just had the national convention. That's the owner of Keller Williams, Gary Keller. He just came out with the report this week, very big, made national news all over the place because we're the #1 brokerage in the company. So when Gary talks, people listen, like E.F. Hutton. Oh, that's an old commercial. Is that an old commercial? What?
Dated reference.
I can't even believe I even remember that. I don't even think they're around anymore. I think they went under during the crisis, but you can't hear him at all now. What does E.F. Hutton say? Huh? Can't hear you.
Little louder.
So Scott has no idea what I'm talking about.
E.F. Upton, what's that?
Yeah, that's like 1980s. So
that reminds me of one of the impressions I tried out at my comedy show last week. You want it real quick?
Yeah.
Here's an impression. I'm working on them. It's a work in progress. This is hearing impaired Shaquille O'Neal. I can't hear you a little bit louder. A little bit louder. I can't. Papa John's. What do you think of that? E.F. Hutton, I can't hear you. E.F. Hutton, I can't hear you.
So the thing is like sometimes it's better, right? Sometimes it's better. But what Gary Keller said, we're definitely going to be going through a correction. But he didn't say when, because he goes, I have no idea when it's going to happen, but you can't have these figures. You can't have 90% appreciation in 60 years and think something isn't going to change.
6 years, you mean?
It's not going to happen,
yeah,
right?
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to go through a correction, but he's, and he answered the agent's question. Is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to sell? Or is it better to sell than buy? Is it better to buy than sell? Or is it better to do both at the same time? And, Gary's been around almost 45 years or something in the real estate market, or actually longer. I think he's been around 50 years in the market. So he's seen everything multiple times. Gary's saying that my advice to sellers is sell your house, go find your new home, lock in the low interest rate, enjoy that low interest rate forever, and prices go up and down on your house. That's normal. So don't freak out about it. Just go ahead and do it. Now, the only way that you're going to be able to do this successfully, in my opinion, is that you have to have a strong intestinal fortitude, as my wrestling coach used to say when I was in high school. Got to have strong intestinal fortitude, because you're going to get a bunch of body blows in the process of doing this. And it is very stressful when you're trying to sell a house and buy a house, right? It's very, very stressful to do that. And you have to be prepared for it. And the way that you can de-stress as best as you can is to try to hire professionals to walk you through it, communicate with them a lot, and share your fears and concerns as you're going through the process. And if you have an agent that knows what they're doing and has a track record, you're going to be able to get through this, even though sometimes the seller, or the seller buyer, as we call the seller buyer, can't see a way out of the process. If you have a top agent, they'll be able to walk you through it, and it can happen.
Yeah, without giving away too much of our secret sauce, I mean, a good listing agent is going to be able to structure the offers that are coming in, because it is such a strong seller's market, to be able to make those plans to prepare yourself for the bare knuckle brawl you're going to get in on the purchase side. But you have to know how to structure those offers that you're receiving on the selling of your house in order to be able to make that purchase side a little less stressful. And that's what Jim and me are very good at.
Yeah, that's exactly what our team does. We do it every day. If you're thinking about buying or selling, you don't know what to do. It's like, I think I want to sell, but I'm not sure. How am I going to find another house? Every time I hear the people, it's like, oh, I'd love to sell my house right now, but what the heck am I going to buy? And my answer is all the time. It's like, I look at my board and I go, hey, we got 8 buyers, 9 buyers, 10 buyers, 11 buyers in contract right now, ready to close, right? If you have good agents, they're going to go out there and they're going to get you houses. And Scott, how many of the buyers have you worked with in the last 6 months that went into contract on a house and they were super, super disappointed because they're like, wow, there's just no inventory, so I'm buying this? How many people are like that?
No, it's not happening. We walked away from several that they're like, yeah, this is not the one. And we had to do that several times. But ultimately, when we did get into contract and we did close, we weren't buying something just because we had to buy it. We were buying it because it's something they were going to see themselves enjoying for a long time.
And that's our standard. We don't want you holding your nose buying something. That's ridiculous. Why would you even do that? I can't even imagine that. And Natalie Medina Rao on our team, and Scott and I, if we see that our buyers are doing that, most of the time we're the ones that are going to say, please don't buy this house. Let me go find you something better, right? Because we see all the houses, so we kind of know what's going on in the market. So if that's the kind of stuff you're looking for, you got to give us a call, okay? 888-973-7828. You can go to floridatalkrealestate.com. There's a million ways to contact us there. Please just always give us your phone number. We're not going to bombard you over and over again. But if you ask a question, it's much easier for us to respond to you when you give us an email and a phone number. The phone number a lot of time is also for texting, because I'm being honest with you guys, commercial emails, they go in your spam. So if you don't know us and we're not associated with you already, and then you send out an email, and then we send an email back to you, and then it goes into your spam, and then you think, oh, those guys never call me back.
Yep.
But if you had the phone number, what would happen is we would send out the email. We would call you. If you didn't pick up, we would text you and just said, hey, we just sent you an email from Jim at blah, 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 Jim at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Can you confirm that you got the email? So please, if you have any questions on that, please give us a call.
That's right. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Not only your access to the entire team, but you'll find the hotline there as well. 888-973-7828.
And you know what else is crazy? 2019, the average interest rate for 30-year mortgage was 3.74, and we're at 2.88 still. 2 years later, we're still below 3%.
Stunning.
It's really, really crazy. People are going to look back at this period of time and say, wow, that was like a super time to take advantage of the market. You're really going to look back and go, wow, V8, it's going to be, what do they call that? The V8 moment. Wow, I could have had a V8, right? It's going to be like that for some people, and other people, they're going to take advantage of this market in 5 to 7 years from now, when their house has gone through the correction and everybody goes, ha ha, see, you had a correction after you bought the house. And then 5 years later, your house has 50, 60% appreciation like we're looking at now. And you're still locked in at that super low interest rate when all your buddies waited for the prices to change and they're paying 5.5, 6% of interest, and you're living in the same neighborhood and you're paying half the mortgage.
Yeah.
Right. For the same house.
It's hard to wrap your head around it.
Look like the genius.
Well, it's hard to wrap your head around it when you're thinking about that scenario. But the reality, there's a harsh reality for many folks that the value of your home truly only matters if you're trying to refi or sell it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're living in it for 10 years, so maybe you do get into a sweet home and you got this great affordability because the interest rates are so low, and you had a great opportunity to sell your home with so much equity. So you actually experiencing wealth through the sale of your home. You have money in your bank account that you would never accumulated otherwise. You got a chance to make $100,000 in one transaction. That's unbelievable. And that's just, one little cross section. But, a couple years go by and all of a sudden you're positioned totally differently and you're going to be living in that home. Nothing's changing. You're there for X amount of years. So yeah, you go through the ebb and flow of the market and then boom, you're positioned amazingly again. So yeah, don't let those things scare you for sure.
Exactly what happened to you, Johnny, right? I mean, when
I'm gonna go through it. We're gonna buy soon.
Yeah, because he made so much equity on his home since he bought it in 2014. And Johnny was a first-time home buyer, a struggling first-time home buyer when he went into the deal, right? And the house appreciated. Now Johnny put in what I called, he kept up his deferred maintenance because he added upgrades as needed. So he didn't just let the house fall into disrepair. He did the big ticket items when it was needed to be done. He actually added value by putting in impact windows and some other stuff that he didn't have to do.
AC, inside out,
benefits and stuff. Yep. But all that appreciation now, and remember, and I think you realize now, Johnny, what we were always saying to you for all those years, that homeowners with the same exact income and same exact job versus renters with the same income, same job, the homeowners will have something like 60% more wealth over time than the renters. And I think you're seeing that because you have this access to equity if you needed it, or to take that equity, sell the house, take the equity, put a huge down payment on another house so you can move up, right?
Yep.
To a bigger house or a house that meets your needs with a bigger down payment and keep everything affordable.
And that's exactly what's going to happen in that exact scenario. And I'm going to put in the sale of my home, regardless of where it shakes out, I'm going to put more money in my bank account in one deposit than I have ever and probably will ever until maybe I hit a lottery or yeah, exactly, the next transaction. And that's just the reality. And we're going to upgrade. We're going to be in a nicer home, whatever that is for you. For us, it's going to be a bigger, nicer, an upgrade home. We're going to be in a considerably higher price point. And yeah, it's scary. It's also awesome. But I had fears when I was a first-time home buyer. I had Jimmy D in my ear for at least a year saying, you got to buy, because we were really at the bottom when we were really, and you're like, you got to buy. And my mentality was, I'm never going to buy a house. That's crazy town. Why would I do that? I'm not in a position to. I don't have the credit, the money. Well, we got there. What was it, Jim? About 9 months, I think. From when we really sat down and said, let's do it, because I had to repair my credit massively and I had to save a ton of money. But about 9 months later, we were closing on our home here in Palm Beach County, where I've already done a refi and probably still have close to about 100,000 in equity. Close. We'll find out soon.
And you bought that house. Do you mind? I'm not going to tell the exact price, but it was the mid twos, right?
Low twos.
Low twos. I can't even remember because it was so long ago.
I think it was around. I think it was 226. I think, Jim. Yeah. I think
so. Low twos.
Yeah.
Already did a cash out refi to do some work on the house, which was smart, and he still has $100,000 of equity in the house right now.
Roughly,
right? In 6 years.
Yeah.
How many people can save $100,000 in 6 years? That's why.
We pulled tens of thousands out already to deal with debt. Yeah.
And that's why I don't necessarily agree with these economists for the real estate department out at FIU saying that, just go ahead and rent right now. I think they're missing out on how over time it affects. Scott?
So we're talking about how right now, super good time to take advantage of the interest rates for buyers. And then if you're in a seller buyer situation where it's a good time because you could sell and cash out your equity and take advantage of these low interest rates. I know we don't like playing the prediction game too much. And I know my crystal ball shattered a long time ago, but all right. So going back to what you were focusing on earlier about 2018, 2019. So 2018 interest rates in January were 4%. By the end of 2018, they were at almost 5%. All right. So in a year, it went up that almost full percentage point. What do you think the interest rate outlook is as far as we think it's going to have to come up. When do we think that's going to happen? And how rapidly do you think it could happen?
Oh, Scott, I love you right now, dude, because you just did the transition for the next thing I wanted to talk about. He didn't even know it's. Thank you. Okay.
Segue.
So the Feds came out with a statement, that Jerome Powell guy that runs the Fed, right? So he came out with a statement saying, hey, guys, we're going to start backing off on the quantitative easing, and we're going to start slowing everything down. They think that the economy is getting stronger. The inflation, here's a couple of things to think about inflation, and we're going to get back to Powell and then answer Scott's question. So remember I told you, I think it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, that they came out with a report that the used car bubble burst. Remember that the used cars were super expensive, more expensive than new cars almost. And now that bubble's burst, right? Well, now another bubble burst, lumber, okay? Remember lumber went up like 900% or something. It was crazy time. And remember they said just the lumber costs were going to cost people about $35,000 to $40,000 extra in their house than before the crisis of the lumber. Okay. Well, they fixed it. In fact, I have some buyers from Canada that are buying a house down here in the Fort Lauderdale area, and they're in lumber country in Canada, because that's where a lot of the lumber comes from, is Canada. And all the lumber companies up there are freaking out right now because the prices are getting too low because they have so much inventory right now. So the lumber prices have popped. So
supply and demand,
now,
huh? Is that what we're dealing with? It's a supply and demand situation for sure.
Yeah. So the thing, so they started, they weren't, during COVID, they weren't producing as much for two reasons. Number one, there wasn't as much need because there weren't as many people working, but also they didn't have enough employees to come and actually make all, to make all the lumber, cut down the trees and make the lumber, mill the lumber because of the COVID, right? So then they got back to work. They started working like crazy, and now we're back to we're seeing a more normal lumber pricing. So that kind of leads to the transitory inflation people. Remember, there's two camps of inflation right now. Some people think we're in a transitory inflation and it's going to change quickly and we're not going to have chronic inflation. And other people are like, oh no, we're looking at the 1970s again. So I don't know who's right, but right now we're leaning a little bit towards the small indicators are leaning towards transitory inflation, which would be very good for the country overall. Powell is saying, Scott, Powell is saying that employment is looking very, very strong. And that's one of the reasons why they want to start pulling back on the quantitative easing. I can't wait till Mike comes back, because there's two ways that the feds are spending money. And I think Mike understands it's better than me. And I couldn't figure it out last night, so I don't want to get into it too much. But there's quantitative easing. And then there's paying for the mortgage servicing debt plan for the mortgage servicers. And there's two things that they're paying for, and I don't know the difference between the two. I got to figure it out. But so Powell's saying what's going to happen is that he's getting everybody lined up psychologically, the stock market, the real estate market, all the markets, to say, hey guys, the economy is getting stronger and stronger. We're going to have to start taking away some of these safety nets. That's why, like, the eviction moratorium is going to go away. We're going to see the freezing of the mortgage payments is going away, because there's like saying, hey, the economy is getting stronger and stronger every day. We need to keep going. Now, the thing that's so counterintuitive to all this right now, and why we're in such a crazy time, Scott, is because we're at worse point of COVID now than we were a year ago. Our numbers are worse.
Yeah, we're just not shut
across
down.
The country. I'm not even talking Florida, just everywhere, right? And it's not good in the world either. So we're always going to have supply chain problems with the world, because when India gets crushed or China gets crushed, or those, the people that make all the little tchotchke stuff for us, all that stuff that we use for raw materials over here, when they get sick, it hurts our supply chain and it disrupts our supply chain. So as soon as you start seeing these interest rates tick up, that's what's going to affect the real estate market. It is not the inventory. One of the things I learned about going through this 6 years, our inventory has been sucky for a long time now. And we're still selling the same amount of properties month after month after month. So, Palm Beach County is somewhere between 1,350 and 2,000 properties a month, depending on what time of the year it is. That hasn't really changed much, even though we don't have much inventory. The only thing that's different is when houses go on the market, they're immediately gone. Instead of waiting on the market for 45 to 60 days, they're gone right then. Go ahead, Johnny.
What's more likely in your mind here? So lumber costs are coming down pretty dramatically, almost fell off a cliff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we know a bunch of builders, and they were saying, it was costing like 30% more to build a home at some point in the last few months versus like a year ago. So that's going to change rapidly. Like, that's not a slow change. That changes like almost overnight if the supply is there and the lumber costs fall off a cliff. So let's say hypothetically new construction starts ticking up again, because costs will it balance out? Will new construction stay, or will the existing homes have to maybe adjust a little bit, come down if they start making new construction a little bit more affordable and more intriguing?
Well, Toll Brothers, the CEO for Toll Brothers, said that the lumber, now he builds luxury homes, so I'm sure they're very, very big compared to the average home. But the average luxury home that Toll Brothers builds, they're predicting that by the second half of 2022, so this isn't going to be a light switch, right? It was a light switch that the lumber went up.
Yeah.
But it's going to be more like turn the pot of boiling water off and let it cool down to get to a normal level on the back end. So they're thinking by the second half of 2022, the average luxury home is going to be $40,000 less for the lumber than today. Just
But
the lumber.
My question is does that translate into a $40,000 less sales price for the consumer? Not necessarily, because the demand for homes is still there, even if it costs the builder 40 grand less to build the house. Do you think they're going to lower the price 40 grand? I don't think so.
Well, it's kind of like recently one of the people we did the shout out earlier today, they were supposed to close on a certain date and they couldn't because of the builder. Then they had to pay a penalty to stay in their apartment for the extra time for it to be finished. So they went back to the builder and said, we want you to pay for that because you had a contract with us to close. You know what the builder said? Good luck with that. If you walk away from me, I can sell this for, let's just say that the unit was for $300,000. I could sell this for $340,000, $350,000 right now. So go ahead and walk away.
So that contract to close really means little on the buyer side.
Yeah. Well, it's good to be a contractor right now.
I guess so.
They're putting in the clauses right now, guys. They're putting in the clauses as saying, look, this is the price right at this moment, but if the cost for building materials goes up, you're paying the difference. A lot of the builders are doing that right now. And you have to really be careful of that. We have heard, now not our people, but I have heard of one case recently where the people could not afford the new price for the house. And
they were stretched to the limit on where they were at.
And the developer kept the deposit.
Wow.
Right? So let's say they were contracted at $350,000. They could afford $350,000 for financing, but now the house is $390,000 and their mortgage broker is saying, sorry, can't get the loan now. And they're going back to the builder and the builder's like, sorry, I guess you're not buying the house and thank you for the deposit. So be very careful.
Yeah, and to me, that story right there tells me if you're buying new construction, you don't have to work with just the sales office. You can work with a licensed professional real estate agent to help you review those clauses that you're signing to prevent you to getting into a situation like that where you lose a deposit.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is that I would not be buying at the max, especially right now. I would not be buying at my max price. Don't max out your maximum allowable offer, which means it's what you're allowed to finance, maximum finance. I would probably have a cushion in there because in case it does go up, so I don't lose my deposit. So let's just say you could afford $500, maybe you keep your budget at $450, right? That way, if things change, you still have a $50,000 cushion, a 10% cushion, right? On what to do in case you get in trouble.
Yeah, and if I was that buyer's agent and we were going into that contract, I would have to try and negotiate a clause for them that says, listen, if there is an increase in lumber cost that causes my sales price to go up $40,000 and it turns out that my debt to income ratio no longer qualifies me for this home, that I can get out and get my deposit back. I would be writing that into the contract for my client.
And to be honest with you, a lot of builders, just to be honest with you, Scott, a lot of builders won't do it.
Right, and we may have to pick a different builder because my client may not be able to may not be willing to take on that risk. But at least I've educated them about what they're getting themselves into. And I think a lot of times people are signing stuff in the sales office and they don't realize what they're getting themselves into.
Here's another trend I think that might happen. California is doing this now. I know California is a little bit of a wacky state on a lot of different levels. Johnny knows he lived there. California right now is actually thinking about changing some zoning laws to allow what normally would be a single, like a one house lot, to let it turn into a multifamily lot. So instead of building one house on a single family lot, they're going to allow it to like have maybe like two townhomes, you know what I mean, on one lot.
They're increasing the density.
They're increasing density, exactly, Scott, because there just isn't enough. There's just not enough inventory out there. If inventory increased, we would also see price drops. But you notice I'm not talking about inventory because I don't read anything anywhere that shows that we're going to get more inventory. It just doesn't exist.
The builders couldn't get us out of the inventory situation in the next 2 years if they wanted to.
The builders don't want to build. They haven't wanted to build since the crisis when we went through the last crisis. They've been so slow to catch up with the demands of the needs because they don't want to take too much risk. And I can understand that. They're business people. But at first, the big mistake they made was they spent way too much for luxury homes. They took too many of the stuff they were building were out of the people's needs. The biggest demand had the least amount of attention to it, which was the middle class and the lower middle class people that wanted to live in their own home and not rent. They didn't really cater to those people. Right after the crisis, all they were going for is luxury, 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 right? Which really didn't help. It didn't really help because the percentage of people buying luxury homes compared to the need for the middle class is a little fraction of the market compared to the middle class. But they didn't want to do that. Why? The spreads are better and the profit's better with the luxury homes. So you can't blame them. They're business people. They want to make money.
Right.
Right. But at the same time, it's not meeting the needs or the demands of the country. It just isn't happening right now. And it's not happening anywhere. This isn't a Florida-centric thing. This is a national thing we're talking about on that level. So only thing that's going to change this market is interest rates, because we're not going to see better inventory. They're not even talking that we're going to see any inventory increases until well after 2023. I mean, we're talking a long time from now. That's why all these people are saying, I'm waiting for the prices to drop. The only thing they're waiting for is for them to pay more interest. When they say, I want to wait for the prices to drop before I buy my home, what they're saying is, I want to pay a higher interest rate than I'm going to be paying now.
Yep.
That's what's happening. They don't know they're saying that.
Right.
That's what they're saying.
So they might put a little bit less down, but they're going to pay more in the long run in interest. And ultimately, you'll end up paying more for your home in the long run than you would with the lower interest rate. There's a mathematical equation there. Like there's a break even point kind of between the interest rate and the cost for your home. But I'm not a mathematician. I'm not totally there, but there is a number. I still wish we could get that on a graph and see it, because I think that changes so many people's perspective.
Mike and I got to sit down one day. What we got to do is we got to figure out that graphic, and then we're going to make a 10-minute video. Okay. And then we're going to put it out there for everybody, an informational video to understand the math between the change in interest rates and the price of the home. And
Sure.
There's a sliding scale there.
And ultimately how it affects your monthly payment.
Well, that's
monthly payment in 30 years and
right,
10
and there's
years.
a sliding scale. It's just like what Mike does now. When we get buyers, and I was going to say, but you guys all know this because you're on my team. We don't have anybody but on our team today. But when we get buyers, Mike Rao from the mortgage firm gives us that shopping tool, he calls it. And it basically is just a graph, and it shows price point and then price point based on your other costs, which is your taxes and insurance, and HOA sometimes, right? And then he figures if your tax and insurance are this is how much you can afford. Now, if your tax and insurance are less, you could afford more. And if the tax and insurance are higher, you can afford less. And there's a graph, and you can see, okay, 425. And then you look at the graph, and they go, and then you look down and you go, oh, I can afford $600 a month for taxes and insurance, right? Oh, 450. I can only afford $475 for taxes and insurance, right? And you can see the sliding scale. We need to do that for buyer sellers to find out what the cost benefit is of buying now at the lower interest rate with the presumed higher price. Because we don't know the prices are going to drop. I'm just telling you they're going to drop.
Right. Yeah, because it is going to be a cause and effect. It is going to be an if-then proposition. I mean, it's kind of the way it is.
Yeah, and next month's going to be really, really interesting. This month, what we're talking about right now, this month. Because the reports always come out about 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks after the month closes. So September is just going to be really interesting, because September is usually traditionally when the market starts picking up again a little bit. So we're going to find out if this flattening in July was, oh, this is August. I'm sorry. So we'll find out better. I forgot we're in August. I keep thinking we're in September.
Almost September.
At the end of, so by October 14th or something, if we saw that August and September went up, then we're not done yet. This party's still rocking. Okay. If we see that August and September, we either stay flat or we go down a little bit, then we might actually be going through a correction, because September, the sales should start picking up again. Because traditionally, what people don't get, they always say that the summer is the strongest part to buy houses. I keep telling people that that's not true, because when you look at the statistics, the summer, it isn't bad. It's not slow. It's just average. right? It seems to heat up a little bit in the fall and a little bit in the spring is where the stronger, and not by much, 10-15% in sales, right? 10 or 15% more sales than the other months. It isn't like tremendous, right? So let's see what happens over these next 2 months. It's going to be very, very interesting to see if we are flattening out. If you're thinking, wow, this is way above my pay grade, what they're talking about today, you don't need to know the pay grade. All you got to do is give us a call, and we'll let you know what's going on. I'm sorry. I thought it was 10:50. It's 10:59.
Yeah, the music's on. That means we out. And you can go to a team that is very much in the know. Constant education, learning every day, evolving with the market. These are pros. They're experts in their field, and you can reach them all at the One Stop Real Estate Shop. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. You'll find the hotline 888-973-7828, answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by a live body. We will get to you, and thank you for your consideration. Friends, family, people that you think could use a team. If you're looking to save on your student loan debt, need a refinance, shop your property insurance. If you're looking to buy or sell your property, anything in between there, go to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Make sure you're in good hands to get a great outcome. Scott Spainhour, have a great weekend, my friend. Thanks for all your time today.
You do the same, Johnny C. Have a great weekend, guys.
I'll do my absolute best. Jimmy D, Jim DePolo, hope you have a great weekend as well.
Thanks, Johnny. Woodley or Logan?
Woodley.
Me too.
And Jimothy, thank you for all your efforts. Jimothy's going to stick around for the next 4 hours. You got the locker room. Greek and Joe are going to join them. We'll be back next Saturday. 2 hours of infotainment starts at 9 a.m. We'll take you till 11. Pass the baton to the locker room. Have a great weekend. See you next Saturday. Florida Talk Real Estate right here on Real Radio.